Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the city around you is no longer designed for humans. The roads were dangerous. The buildings were enormous. Food was hidden behind walls, glass, and metal. And almost everything moved faster than you. You'd probably struggle to survive. But birds? They figured it out. They learn where humans throw food. They learn when traffic stops. They learn which buildings are safe. Some even learned how to use cars, buildings, traffic lights, and human routines to their advantage. We think we built cities to control nature. But something strange happened. Nature learned how to control the city. And the birds living above our heads may be some of the greatest urban survivors on Earth. Welcome to Wild Physiology. Today, we're going inside the hidden world of city birds and discovering how they learn to outsmart human civilization. Chapter 1. The city was never built for birds. A modern city looks like a nightmare for wildlife. Concrete everywhere. Glass towers. Moving vehicles. Loud machinery. Bright lights. Very little natural habitat. And yet, walk through almost any major city and you'll find birds everywhere. Pigeons on rooftops. Crows beside roads. Sparrows around restaurants. Gulls searching parking lots. Falcons nesting on skyscrapers. Why? Because birds discovered something humans didn't expect. A city is not just a dangerous place. It's also a giant collection of resources. Buildings can become cliffs. Streetlights can become lookout towers. Air conditioning units can become warm resting platforms. Parking lots can become feeding grounds. And human garbage? That's an enormous buffet. To a bird, the city isn't necessarily a concrete jungle. It's a completely new ecosystem. And the smartest birds don't simply survive inside it. They learn how it works. Chapter 2. Birds learn our daily routines. Here's where things get fascinating. Cities operate according to patterns. People leave home. Restaurants open. Garbage trucks arrive. Traffic becomes heavy. Schools empty. Parks become crowded. Then, at night, everything changes. Birds can exploit these predictable routines. Imagine a crow watching the same street every morning. It sees a restaurant worker carrying bags outside. A few minutes later, food scraps appear. The crow doesn't need to understand human language. It only needs to recognize the pattern. Human appears. Food follows. Over time, that association becomes useful information. And this is one reason intelligence matters so much in urban environments. The city constantly changes, but human behavior often repeats. For an adaptable bird, that repetition becomes a kind of map. Not a map drawn on paper. A map stored in memory. Chapter 3. The city became a giant classroom. Young birds have an enormous advantage. They can learn from older birds. A juvenile crow doesn't enter the city knowing everything. It watches. It experiments. It makes mistakes. And it remembers what happens next. Maybe an older crow avoids a particular person. Maybe it knows exactly where food appears every afternoon. Maybe it knows which rooftop is safe. Maybe it recognizes a dangerous animal. These aren't simply random behaviors. They're information. And information can spread. A bird discovers something useful. Other birds observe it. Young birds grow up watching experienced birds. Eventually, the behavior can become part of the local population's knowledge. In other words, the city can become a classroom. And the birds are students that never stop studying. Chapter 4. Crows, the urban problem solvers. If there is one bird that seems almost designed for city life, it's the crow. Crows are remarkably flexible animals. They can remember individuals. They can solve problems. They can manipulate objects. And they are extremely good at learning from experience. But the most important skill may be something simpler. Adaptability. A crow doesn't need the environment to remain stable. If one food source disappears, it searches for another. If one location becomes dangerous, it changes its behavior. If humans create a new opportunity, the crow investigates. This is powerful, because cities change constantly. Construction destroys one habitat. A new building appears. A restaurant opens. A park closes. Traffic patterns change. A new predator arrives. And the bird has to respond. The crow that survives isn't necessarily the strongest crow. It may be the crow that learns fastest. Chapter 5. Pigeons discovered a different kind of superpower. Now look at pigeons. Humans often see them as ordinary, maybe even annoying. But their success tells us something important about evolution. Pigeons are incredibly well suited to urban environments. Why? Because cities accidentally provide many of the things they need. High buildings provide nesting locations. Food waste provides calories. Human structures provide shelter. And roads and buildings create familiar visual landscapes. The result is fascinating. A bird that evolved around cliffs and open landscapes discovered that skyscrapers could perform a similar function. To us, a skyscraper is architecture. To a pigeon, it's a cliff. A ledge is a nesting site. A rooftop is a lookout. A train station is a feeding opportunity. The pigeon didn't need humans to build a habitat specifically for it. It simply learned how to reinterpret what humans had already built. Chapter 6: The birds that learned the traffic system. Now imagine something even stranger. A bird standing beside a busy road. Cars are moving. Engines are roaring. Asa. People are crossing. Yet the bird doesn't panic. It waits. Then suddenly, the traffic stops, and the bird moves. Urban wildlife can become remarkably familiar with predictable traffic patterns. Some birds even exploit vehicles indirectly. A car may crush food on the road. A restaurant may produce predictable waste. A traffic island may provide a temporary safe zone. To humans, these things are unrelated. To an intelligent animal living inside the system, they're connected opportunities. The bird doesn't see a road the way we do. It sees timing, danger, opportunity, timing again. And that's one of the secrets of urban survival. You don't have to control the environment if you can predict it. Chapter 7. The most dangerous city bird may not be the biggest. Here's something humans often get wrong. We tend to associate survival with size. Bigger animal, stronger animal, more powerful animal. But cities reward something else. Flexibility. A tiny bird that can change its diet may outperform a larger animal that depends on one food source. A bird that can nest on buildings may survive when natural nesting sites disappear. A bird that recognizes danger may avoid predators. A bird that remembers useful locations can return to them repeatedly. Urban survival is therefore less about brute strength and more about information. Know where to eat, know where to hide, know who is dangerous, know when to move, and know when to wait. That's why some of the most successful urban birds aren't the strongest birds. They're the birds that can learn. Chapter 8. Humans accidentally created a new ecosystem. And now we reach the biggest twist. Birds didn't simply move into our cities. We created an environment that rewarded certain bird behaviors. Think about what cities provide. Food waste, artificial shelter, warm surfaces, water sources, protected nesting locations, artificial lighting, predictable human activity, and enormous vertical structures. From an evolutionary perspective, this is an experiment happening in real time. Human civilization transformed the environment, and birds responded. Some species disappeared from areas they couldn't adapt to. Others changed their behavior, and some discovered that cities were surprisingly profitable places to live. This is evolution in action, not necessarily because birds suddenly became smarter, but because the environment began rewarding birds that were already good at learning, exploring, and adapting. Chapter 9. But there's a dark side. There's one important detail we shouldn't ignore. Urban success doesn't mean urban life is easy. Cities are dangerous. Glass windows can be deadly. Traffic kills wildlife. Artificial lights can disrupt behavior. Pollution creates new challenges. Food waste can be unhealthy. And constant human activity creates stress and disturbance. So birds aren't exactly conquering cities. They're negotiating with them. Every day, every hour, every flight. They balance opportunity against danger, food against exposure, shelter against disturbance, and the birds that make the right decision survive. The next time you walk through a city, try something different. Don't just look at the buildings. Look up. Watch the pigeons moving between rooftops. Watch the crows observing people. Listen to sparrows around restaurants. Look for birds sitting on streetlights. Because you're not just looking at animals living in a city. You're looking at animals that have learned to read an environment created by another species. Humans built roads. Birds learned their timing. Humans built skyscrapers. Birds turned them into cliffs. Humans created enormous amounts of waste. Birds discovered the opportunity hidden inside it. And humans filled the world with predictable routines. Birds learned those routines. That's what makes urban birds so fascinating. They don't need to defeat humans. They don't need to become stronger than us. They simply need to understand the world we've created and find the opportunities hidden inside it. Perhaps that's the real lesson of urban evolution. Intelligence isn't always about controlling the environment. Sometimes, it's about learning how to live inside someone else's. And while we're busy building the future, the birds above our heads are already learning how to use it. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden intelligence of urban wildlife, subscribe to Wild Physiology. Because the next time you look at an ordinary bird, you might realize you're looking at something far more intelligent than it appears. The city belongs to humans. Or at least, that's what we like to think.